Have you ever tried fasting only to feel more anxious, more tired, or even notice weight gain instead of loss? Have you wondered why so many women have such different and often frustrating experiences with fasting, especially after turning 40? Here's a truth that's rarely stated clearly. Fasting works differently in the female body. And it's not about willpower or discipline, it's science. Most fasting studies have been conducted on men or male animals completely, overlooking the complex hormonal landscape of women. After 40, everything changes. Estrogen starts to fluctuate, progesterone drops, metabolism slows down, and the body begins to interpret fasting in a very specific, unique way. If you're a woman over 40 and fasting hasn't been giving you the results you hoped for, or seems to be working against you, this video is essential. You'll learn the physiological reasons behind these differences and how to adapt your fasting practice in a smart, safe, and sustainable way. Make sure to like, share with someone who needs this message, and subscribe to the channel. This knowledge could completely transform your relationship with your body and with food. How sex hormones influence the body's response to fasting. The female body is heavily regulated by sex hormones, especially estrogen and progesterone. These two powerful hormones don't just control fertility, they directly impact metabolism, insulin sensitivity, fat burning, mood, and even sleep. During the reproductive years, especially before age 40, these hormones follow regular cycles that help maintain metabolic balance. But when perimenopause begins, that stability disappears. Estrogen levels become unpredictable, and progesterone begins to plummet. This hormonal shift drastically alters the body's response to fasting. With lower estrogen, the ability to use fat for energy decreases. At the same time, falling progesterone levels can increase anxiety and reduce the body's tolerance to the metabolic stress caused by fasting. In short, what worked at 30 might be completely ineffective or even harmful at 45. Fasting after 40 requires a more personalized, thoughtful approach that honors the hormonal transitions of the mature female body. Female sensitivity to metabolic stress. Many women report feeling more agitated, anxious, having trouble sleeping, or even experiencing stronger food cravings at night when they start fasting. And this isn't weakness, nor is it a lack of discipline, it's biology. The female body, especially after age 40, is more sensitive to metabolic stress than the male body. This is because a woman's brain has more active sensors for detecting energy shortages. This heightened sensitivity evolved as a protective mechanism to support reproductive health, even long after a woman stops ovulating. When the female body senses prolonged periods without food, as happens during extended fasting, it can activate a stress response known as the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal HPA axis, which increases levels of cortisol, the primary stress hormone. And this is where things get more complex. After 40, the body is already undergoing natural hormonal transitions, making it less resilient to any additional stress. Poorly managed fasting during this time can backfire, leading to increased belly fat, disrupted sleep, irritability, and even late-night binge eating. That's why it's essential to understand that not every woman should begin with long fasting windows. The approach must be gentle, gradual, and aligned with where the body is hormonally. Adapting fasting to your current stage of life isn't a sign of weakness, it's a form of care. The right path isn't about forcing the body into submission. It's about listening and adjusting based on how it responds. That's the foundation of intelligent, sustainable, and safe fasting for women in midlife and beyond. A more vulnerable thyroid, the link between fasting and a slower metabolism. Have you ever felt like you were doing everything right, yet your metabolism just wouldn't budge? That's a common frustration among women over 40, and one of the key reasons may lie in the delicate relationship between fasting and thyroid health. The thyroid is a critical gland responsible for regulating metabolism. It produces the hormones T3 and T4, which determine how efficiently the body burns energy. And here's the catch: fasting, especially if done for long periods or without proper guidance, can lower the conversion of T4 into T3, the active form of the hormone that actually speeds up metabolism. This happens because the female body, when faced with a significant drop in calorie intake, perceives it as a threat. In response, it starts conserving energy by slowing down vital processes, including metabolic function. This is an ancestral survival response, and it's even more pronounced in women, whose bodies historically needed to protect fertility and conserve resources during times of scarcity. There's another important factor to consider. The incidence of hypothyroidism increases with age, particularly in women. This makes the thyroid even more sensitive to restrictive diets, especially poorly managed fasting protocols. If you're fasting and noticing symptoms like extreme fatigue, hair loss, weight gain despite eating very little, constantly feeling cold, or persistent low mood, it's essential to evaluate your thyroid function and consider adjusting your fasting approach. Fasting should not be a burden on the body. On the contrary, it should be a tool for balance. When we respect the signals from the thyroid, we empower the metabolism to work with us, not against us. The role of leptin and ghrelin in women's appetite. Many women find that when they fast, they end up eating more than usual when they break their fast. Others feel intense hunger in the first few days, making the process far more difficult than expected. There's a reason for this, and it has a name: leptin and ghrelin. These two hormones are the body's primary appetite regulators. Ghrelin is known as the hunger hormone. It increases when we're fasting or when the stomach is empty. Leptin, on the other hand, is the satiety hormone. It tells the brain when we've had enough to eat. In the female body, especially after 40, the balance between these two hormones becomes more fragile. Declining estrogen levels directly impact leptin, making it harder to feel full and satisfied. At the same time, sensitivity to ghrelin can increase, meaning hunger is felt more intensely, even when there's no real need for energy. As women age, many also develop leptin resistance, where the brain stops responding properly to leptin even when levels are adequate. The result? Constant hunger, difficulty stopping eating, and a serious challenge to maintaining consistency with fasting. That's why it's so common to see women start fasting with motivation, only to find themselves in cycles of overeating, guilt, and frustration. This isn't a lack of willpower, it's the body trying to correct something that's out of sync. A smart approach for women over 40 must take this hormonal sensitivity into account. That means paying attention not only to fasting duration, but also to what's eaten before and after the fast. Prioritizing foods that stabilize blood sugar, reduce inflammation, and help regulate leptin and ghrelin is essential. Because ultimately, fasting isn't just about not eating. It's about understanding how your body responds to both the absence and the presence of food. Hormonal shifts during perimenopause, total instability in fasting response. Perimenopause is an intense transitional period that can begin years before a woman's final menstrual cycle. And it's often during this time that many women turn to fasting as a strategy for health or weight loss. The problem? The body is on a hormonal roller coaster, and that directly impacts how it responds to fasting. During perimenopause, estrogen and progesterone levels fluctuate unpredictably. 1 month, insulin sensitivity may be normal. The next, there may be spikes in insulin resistance. This instability affects everything from appetite to mood, sleep, metabolism, and energy. It's not uncommon for a woman to feel like her body has changed overnight, and in many ways it has. In such a volatile state, rigid fasting routines can become a trigger for imbalance. On days when the body is already inflamed, overly sensitive, or low on energy reserves, fasting can create more stress than benefit. Conversely, on more hormonally balanced days, fasting may feel smooth and deliver excellent results. The most common mistake is using fasting with the same logic every single day, treating it like a fixed formula. But during perimenopause, what the body truly needs is flexibility and active listening, paying attention to daily cues and adjusting your fasting practice to match your current hormonal state may be the key to maintaining balance and health. This doesn't mean giving up on fasting. It means honoring your internal rhythm. For many women, this phase becomes the perfect opportunity to develop a deeper, more conscious relationship with their body, one that goes far beyond the scale. Even after menopause, hormones still influence fasting. It's a common belief that once menopause sets in, hormonal fluctuations stop and everything returns to normal. But the truth is, hormonal influences continue, they just take on a different form. After menopause, estrogen and progesterone settle at consistently lower levels. And this has a direct impact on how the body responds to fasting. For instance, low estrogen continues to interfere with insulin sensitivity, fat burning, appetite regulation, and emotional stability. On top of that, there's a gradual decline in other key hormones like melatonin, DHEA, and serotonin, all of which affect sleep, mood, and motivation to stick with healthy routines like fasting. This helps explain why many postmenopausal women report extreme fatigue, difficulty adjusting to fasting, or feeling like fasting works in reverse. The postmenopausal body is also more prone to muscle loss and visceral fat gain, especially when fasting is done without proper nutrition or without strength training to support it. In short, even without a menstrual cycle, the body continues to respond in unique ways, and it requires an adjusted strategy. The approach must be gentler, more personalized, and mindful of overall health, including sleep quality, digestion, mental clarity, and energy levels. Fasting after 60 is absolutely possible, but it must be done with more wisdom, more self-awareness, and less rigidity, and often with the support of a knowledgeable professional. Female neurotransmitters: how fasting affects mood and motivation. After 40, how many times have you started a fasting plan full of motivation, only to find yourself a few days in feeling irritable, inexplicably sad, or ready to throw in the towel? These emotional responses aren't random, they have a biological explanation. Neurotransmitters, the chemical messengers that regulate mood and well-being, also change with age and are directly influenced by fasting. Two of the most important are serotonin, often called the feel-good hormone, and dopamine, which is linked to motivation and the brain's reward system. Both are heavily affected by estrogen levels. And after 40, especially during and after menopause, the body's production of these neurotransmitters tends to decline. When a woman enters a fasting routine without taking this into account, the body can interpret the lack of food as a stressor. This can further lower serotonin and dopamine levels, impacting mood, sleep, and overall motivation. The result is a familiar cycle: daytime irritability, growing discouragement, and often evening episodes of emotional eating, alcohol use, or a strong urge to give up altogether. Additionally, this drop in neurotransmitters makes the brain more sensitive to fluctuations in blood sugar. That's why poorly managed fasting can increase feelings of weakness, anxiety, or even trigger binge eating episodes. But there is a solution. When fasting is tailored to the reality of the mature female body, supported by nutritious food, emotional balance, and, when necessary, professional guidance, it can actually help stabilize neurotransmitter function and improve mood over time. The key is honoring the body's limits and understanding that emotional health and metabolic health go hand in hand. Liver function and insulin resistance in aging women. As the years go by, the female body undergoes silent but deeply significant changes, and among the most impactful are shifts in liver function and increasing insulin resistance. These two elements are crucial to understanding why fasting, though powerful, must be approached with greater caution after 40 and especially beyond 60. The liver plays a central role in regulating blood sugar, metabolizing fats, and detoxifying the body. With declining estrogen levels, its metabolic efficiency can drop. This means that even with a healthy diet, the body may struggle more to manage glucose levels, which directly influences how effective fasting will be. In addition, as we age, it's common for insulin sensitivity to decrease. This means the body's cells don't respond to insulin as well as they once did. In response, the body produces more insulin to achieve the same effect, a process that promotes abdominal fat storage and makes it harder to burn fat during fasting. This situation becomes even more challenging when fasting is done too rigidly, without balanced nutrition or attention to sleep quality. In these cases, instead of helping, fasting can actually cause spikes in blood sugar as soon as eating resumes, which only worsens insulin resistance. The good news is that fasting can be an excellent tool for restoring insulin sensitivity as long as it's done wisely. That means listening to the body's signals, focusing on low glycemic foods during eating windows, staying physically active, and above all, avoiding extremes. Fasting with wisdom is a way to support the liver, balance hormones, and give your body the chance to function more efficiently without overload or punishment. The need for cyclical approaches. Why fixed fasting often fails after 40. Throughout life, many women have been taught to follow strict rules, fixed eating schedules, rigid diets, one-size-fits-all solutions that promise universal results. But as we age, the body becomes less predictable in how it responds, and this is especially true when it comes to fasting. After 40, and even more so after 60, the female body becomes less responsive to rigid strategies. Fasting protocols that once worked, like fasting 16 hours every day, may begin to backfire. Instead of supporting health, they can lead to fatigue, weight loss plateaus, irritability, poor sleep, or even muscle loss. That's because the body craves metabolic variety. It quickly adapts to repetitive stimuli, and fixed fasting patterns can lose their effectiveness over time. On top of that, a mature woman's hormonal system is already in a constant state of adjustment. If the dietary strategy doesn't adapt along with it, the balance is disrupted. This is why cyclical fasting approaches, alternating longer fasts with lighter or non-fasting days, tend to work better for this stage of life. They respect the shifting nature of the female metabolism and allow for necessary recovery periods, which are vital for maintaining hormonal and overall health. Another benefit of this flexibility is sustainability. Rigid protocols often lead to frustration, feelings of failure, and even binge eating. Cyclical strategies, on the other hand, offer lightness, self-awareness, and adaptability, all essential qualities for a woman who wants to live with health without guilt or struggle. The key isn't doing more fasting, it's doing the right kind of fasting for your current phase of life. And for the mature woman, that means embracing the body's rhythm rather than trying to control it with fixed formulas. Fasting after 4, a journey of self-awareness, not rigidity. Throughout this video, it's become clear that fasting is not a one-size-fits-all practice. What works for a young man or even a 30-year-old woman can have completely different effects on a woman's body after 40, and especially after 60. This isn't a flaw. It's an opportunity to better understand your body. A mature woman has gone through decades of hormonal, emotional, and metabolic changes. That's why she deserves strategies that are thoughtful, personalized, and respectful. Fasting can be a powerful ally for health, longevity, and overall well-being, as long as it's practiced with awareness, flexibility, and attention to the body's signals. Ignoring your stage of life can turn a tool for wellness into a source of frustration. But when fasting is adapted to your current reality, it can help restore balance, improve metabolism, strengthen mental clarity, and deepen your connection with your body. If you're thinking of starting or restarting fasting, the best approach is to begin gently, with shorter fasts like 12 hours before moving into longer protocols. During eating windows, nourishment is key. Your meals should be grounded in protein, fresh vegetables, healthy fats, and whole foods. At the same time, listening to your body is non-negotiable. Signs like irritability, weakness, or insomnia are signals to adjust, not push harder. Staying physically active is also essential. Activities like walking, light strength training, or functional movement help preserve muscle mass, which is the foundation of a healthy metabolism. Equally important is quality sleep. Deep, restorative rest regulates hormones, repairs the body, and amplifies the benefits of fasting. If you're over 60, taking medications, or managing health conditions, professional support is vital. Yes, fasting can absolutely be part of this stage of life, but it must be approached with care, intention, and attentive guidance. Remember, your body is changing, and your strategies should change too. But with respect, knowledge, and patience, it can remain a powerful tool for vitality, balance, and longevity. If this content brought you clarity or comfort, share it with other women. Like, comment, and tell us, how is your body responding to fasting today? Your story might be exactly what another woman needs to feel safe, seen, and empowered on her own journey.